We've all heard of Baldur's Gate, The Walking Dead, and the Batman Arkham series, but I wanted to take a look at some lesser appreciated and more obscure licensed games to see if there are any hidden gems waiting to be found. So, Spider-Man 2 just came out, so I figured I'd take a look at Spider-Man 2 for the Nintendo DS. Everyone knows how good 2004's Spider-Man 2 for the 6th generation of consoles is, but I was completely unaware that there was a DS version of the game, most likely because it was released about 5 months after the console, PC, and GBA versions. And then, about 4 months after that, there was a PSP version. You'd think they would just say forget it, since by that point the hype surrounding the movie's release was gone, but hey, they wanted Spider-Man 2 on everything. It was even on the N-Gage. But enough about that. We're here to talk about the Nintendo DS version. This version of the game was developed by Vicarious Visions, who you may know for their work on the Crash Bandicoot Sane Trilogy and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2. But back in the day, they made a ton of licensed games, specifically a lot of handheld ones, so Spider-Man 2 is pretty on brand for them. This game is, well, it's not very good. When I first started playing, I actually saw a lot of promise. Spider-Man can web swing all over the levels, he's got the web zip for even faster traversal, he can do combo attacks by combining punches and kicks in different ways, he's got his spider sense which can let you slow down time, and he's got unique special moves like this web pull that you can use to toss enemies off of buildings. But once I actually got into the game, its issues began to show. So seeing as though this is a Spider-Man game, exploration is a big thing. That's fine. However, this game has no map. Not only does it not have a map, but you don't even get compass arrows to show you the direction of your objective. So like in the second level of the game, you have to find and defeat 23 escaped convicts scattered all over this big map with no direction arrows and no map. Not only that, but the combat is really jank. It does not feel smooth or responsive at all. There are so many times where I feel like I should be close enough to hit a guy, but it just doesn't work. The hitboxes are just weird. And speaking of hitboxes, the hitboxes of some of these stage hazards are humongous. If I even take one step in the general direction of this fire, I get smoked. Even besides the gameplay, the game just doesn't have much going for it. The DS was never known for its 3D graphics, so the game doesn't look very good. They took screenshots from the cutscenes of the console version and compressed them for the DS version's cutscenes, and they don't look very good. The music is alright, I suppose. Sometimes it can get a bit repetitive, and the story is just Spider-Man 2, but with more filler. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna play the PS2 version. Speaking of PS2 games, let's talk about Mobile Suit Gundam Federation vs. Zeon Deluxe, a 3D third-person shooter released in 2001 and developed by Capcom. Yeah, Street Fighter, Monster Hunter, Resident Evil Capcom. They've actually made quite a few good licensed games, and this game is definitely in that category. Gundam is an enormously popular Japanese animation series that began all the way back in 1979 and is still getting new anime entries to this day. The lore of Gundam is quite expansive, but the plot of this game is about the one-year war fought between the forces of the Earth's government, called the Earth Federation, and a faction of space colonies called the Principality of Zeon. The one-year war was a brutal war filled with nuclear missiles, chemical gassings, and space colony drops onto the Earth. But perhaps the most memorable weapon of this war is the mobile suit, essentially a robot that can be piloted by a human. In Federation vs. Zeon Deluxe, you choose a side to join and take control of one of these mobile suits to battle the mobile suits on the other side of the war. Each mobile suit has its own set of unique weapons like flails, bazookas, and beam sabers. Not only that, but some mobile suits even have multiple weapons that you can pick from before battle, allowing for a bit of customization as well. The core gameplay is that of a third-person shooter, but because your mobile suit can boost in different directions and even hover in the air, the game allows for far more movement than that of a typical entry in the genre. The game does a good job of making your mobile suits feel like these huge, heavy robots with their weighty animations and slow walk speed, while still keeping the game fast-paced thanks to your ability to boost. You can die really easily in this game, so managing your boost is really important. If you die, you can respawn, but if you or your ally dies too many times, it's game over, at least in the arcade mode of the game, where you go stage by stage through various important locations in the Gundam anime. I don't think I mentioned it yet, but yeah, this game was originally an arcade game. The deluxe at the end of the title is because this is an updated version of the original arcade game Mobile Suit Gundam Federation vs. Zeon. This deluxe version adds some new content like a few new mobile suits and a new campaign mode. In campaign mode, you play as a soldier in the one-year war on the side of your choosing. After choosing your side, Federation or Zeon, you basically go through the last few months of the war, picking different missions to go on, from guarding valued allied units, to testing out new prototype models, to destroying enemy battleships. One thing I like is how missions aren't available forever. Once you complete a mission, time passes. So if you pass the time frame when a certain mission is able to be done, it will be gone. I enjoy this because it gives you the sense that the world isn't just stopping for you to complete everything. Time moves on. Maybe another soldier completed that mission while you were off doing something else, or maybe no one came in time and the mission ended up unsuccessful. Who knows? This is a living world where things happen whether you're there or not. Luckily, the missions you do complete give you some good rewards. You start off with just a basic mobile suit, but by completing missions, you're given newer models, new weapons, and upgraded versions of your older models. Don't get too reckless with your new toys though, because damage carries over after your mission is complete, meaning you'll have to be careful and swap between different mobile suits to give your other ones time to get repaired. This mode is just a ton of fun. The whole game is great, which is why this game got its own series of Gundam games after it, which is still going strong to this day. In fact, this game is so good that Capcom basically recycled the gameplay for another game, a cult classic GameCube title that's become something of a grail amongst collectors. 2003's Gotcha Force. Also, as a last thing, I just had to mention that it's awesome that they got music from the original Gundam anime and put it into Federation vs. Zeon. I love when licensed games do this. It just makes the game feel more in line with the world of the original series. Let's move away from anime games and look at a game based on a Western cartoon, Camp Lazlo Leaky Lake Games, a 2006 GBA game based on the Cartoon Network series Camp Lazlo that ran from 2005 to 2008. I haven't seen Camp Lazlo in years, so I can't speak to its quality, but I remember really enjoying it when it was airing, and I'm pretty sure it inspired me to get into more outdoorsy stuff as a kid. Unfortunately, time has not been super kind to the series' memory. I barely hear anyone talk about this show these days, unlike some of its mid-2000s Cartoon Network contemporaries like Codename Kids Next Door, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and Ben 10. But Camp Lazlo did run for 3 years and 5 seasons, so that has to mean something, right? Well, I hope so, because this game does not do the franchise any favors. This game was developed by Collision Studios, who've done quite a number of classic games, like Duck Hunting Challenge, Daisy Fuentes Pilates, and Jillian Michaels Fitness Ultimatum 2010. In this game, you play as Lazlo, Raj, and Clam, the 3 members of the Jelly Cabin, one of the cabins in Camp Kidney, the summer camp where the show takes place. The game is basically a mini-game collection where you do things like play the floor is lava and seesaw challenges, and in between those challenges you do a bunch of fetch quests. Now, this wouldn't be so horrible, except the minigames aren't fun and the fetch quests take forever. Like, there's this one quest where you play as Raj and you have to find Scoutmaster Lumpus's megaphone. So Lazlo tells you to find out where to look for it by talking to Lumpus's right-hand man, Slinkman. So you go to Slinkman and he tells you that he'll only give you the information you need by finding his ticket to the next Slugfest. And he says the last time he had it was by the first aid station. So you go to the first aid station and talk to Nurse Leslie to see if he knows where the ticket is. But he'll only tell you where it is if you find his cup of coffee that he somehow dropped outside. So you go get his coffee and he says he saw the ticket stuck to the foot of Samson the guinea pig. So you go find Samson. Samson tells you he thinks he remembers seeing it, but before he tells you, you have to get his new glasses for him for some reason. I guess he has to have his glasses on so he can think. Okay, so you go to get his glasses, and once you get the glasses, he tells you he gave his ticket to the Lemmings. So you go find the Lemmings by the mess hall. So the Lemmings guy tells you he'll give you the ticket, but only if you beat him in a mini game where you have to clean up these trees with paint on them. The minigame is not fun. After you win, the Lemmings guy tells you to go find their canoe, so you go near Scoutmaster Olympus's cabin and find a canoe, and I guess Raj stuffs the whole canoe into his pocket. So you go back to the Lemmings, and the Lemmings guy tells you that you gotta find the 4 oars for their canoe. So you look all around the map for the 4 oars, and finally, after doing all of that, you get the Slugfest ticket. So now you have to take the ticket back to Slinkman, and after taking the ticket back to Slinkman, you find out that he doesn't even know where the megaphone is. I think I'm done here. Well, we went 1 for 3 in terms of good games, so I mean, I guess it's not 0? I'm gonna try to look for some better games for next time. Anyway, have a good one, everyone.